Oh, hello, young coding ninja. Today we have a very exciting lesson because we're going to learn how to add more user interactivity to our projects with key presses. That's right. Now you will be able to have your user type and to change your sketch in all sorts of crazy ways. I'm pumped about this, so let's get it going. So just to review a little bit, right now we know how to hover and make things happen, and we know how to click and make things happen. Now we want to be able to type on our keyboard. That's me pressing my keyboard and have things happen. So let's get this going. So first, let's just start with this. We're going to start by making our famous ellipse at 200, 200, 100, and we should get a circle in the middle. Ooh, cool. I guess it's not that cool. I was just a little too excited about that. Let's zoom in a little. So with that. Okay. Now, after we've got our circle here, what we're going to do is, as always, I just want this thing to change color, maybe some other things, but let's just get a variable going here. Let's get a color variable. So we'll say let circle color. Right? We can name that anything we want. I just happen to call it circle color. We're going to initialize it. So we're going to say circle color is equal to the color of, let's make it blue. Okay, 255. That's red. Silly me. So let's make it red, whatever. And then let's fill it. So we'll say fill circle color. And that's looking pretty good. Boom. All right, we got a red circle. Now, what I said today is I want to make it so when I press something on my keyboard, this circle starts changing colors, and maybe changing other things. The way we're going to do this is just like we did with the mouse, and it's actually very similar. So what we're going to need is an if statement. So we're going to say if key is pressed, and you'll notice that turns purple, meaning it's a P5 variable. And what this is doing is it's another event listener, and it's just waiting to it's just listening if the user is pressing a key or not. So if you are pressing a key on your keyboard, it's going to say true. If you're not pressing a key, it's going to say false. So when you're pressing it, it'll say true. And remember, if statements run if something's true. So we're going to say if key is pressed, then we are going to change the color of the circle, which is pretty simple. Circle color is equal to a color. And now let's make it, as I said, blue, which is 0, 0, 255. All right. So I just want you to say this. Right now, this is just listening for any key. So this says if any key on the keyboard is pressed, then we're going to change the color. So I know you can't see my hands. I wish you could. But if you could see them, you'd see that now I am pressing the keyboard. And that's why you can maybe hear it. See, every time I press the keyboard, it's changing. Now, it doesn't matter what key I'm pressing, up, down, left, right, shift, enter. It is changing it because this is just listening for any key being pressed on your keyboard. Now, usually you don't have an application where you can press any key and have it pressed. That's a little crazy, right? So actually, we want to make it so it only listens to one key. And since it's turning blue, maybe I'll say only when I press the B key do I want it to turn blue. No other key, but just blue. Well, that's pretty easy to do. So inside of this if statement, what we're going to have to do is add something. We're going to add another if statement inside the if statement. Inception. So we're going to say if the key, see how that's also, once again, that's a P5 variable because it says key. If the key is double equal sign equal to B, that's when we're going to run this function. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this circle color and we're going to move that inside of our second if statement. So remember, this is an if statement inside the if statement. And just a minor point here, it's really good to indent your if statement. So your first if statement's on the outside, then you indent and you make your other if statement. It just makes it so much easier to read. I wish you did that. So now we're saying if the key is pressed, and inside of that we're saying if that key is equal to B, okay, then and only then will we change this to blue. So really this is like two things are going on. You're pressing a key, and also, if your key is B, the letter B, will you change color? So watch. I want you to try press a bunch of letters. See, you can hear me typing. Nothing's happened. Watch. I'm going to press I'm going to press B. Whoa. So now it only changes when it's B. We could also do another color. Let's say when we type the wording. Let's say when we press G, it'll turn green, right? Whatever. Now, here's the other thing for this lesson. All right, I know we're going over a lot. There's like 3 new things in there. You learn key is pressed, which detects if you're pressing a key, and then you know how to pick the key that you're pressing now specifically. And here's another thing. You can't just use an if statement. You actually want to use something called an else if statement. And that's like an if statement, but that's just saying if this thing's isn't true, go on to the next thing. All right, so when you're doing your, if you have more than one key that you're using, instead of just using if statements, use else if. All right? So else if our key is equal to double equal sign, and I don't want to see any single equal signs. You're going to get so many errors. we're going to make it turn green now. So we're going to say circle color is equal to the color of green, which is 0, 255, 0. And if I press play, now when I press a bunch of buttons, nothing's happening. If I press B, it turns blue. If I press G, it turns green. Isn't this fantastic? All right, so this is looking pretty good. The only thing I want to you guys remember, so if you have more than one if statement inside of your original if statement with the key is pressed, every subsequent if statement should be else if, not just if. So don't just do this, do else if. All right. Okay, so I'll just add one more thing. Let's say, and you might want to try this on your own before having me explain it, but let's say I wanted to make it every time I press the left arrow key, the stroke gets bigger, right? So I want the stroke weight to increase every time I press the left arrow key. Maybe that's another thing that we can change. I know we haven't done this before, but I want the stroke weight to change every time I press the left arrow key. Now, once again, if I want to change, and I'm changing the stroke weight, you should say to yourself, well, I should probably get a variable for that. So what we're going to do once again is we're going to say, we'll say let border size. I'm just making that up. You can call it whatever you want. All right. I'm going to initialize the border size inside the setup. Okay. I'm going to say border size is equal to, let's start at 1. That's the original one. And now we're going to say on top of our ellipse, right, we're going to give it a stroke weight now. We're going to say stroke weight is equal to border size. And so right now it's just equal to 1. Straightforward, nothing's happening. Now let's say I said every time I move the left arrow key, every time I press the left arrow key, I want this to increase the border size. So I want to get bigger every time I press the left arrow key. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to say else if. Remember, every single if statement after the first one, we're going to say else if. Else if key is double equal. Don't forget those double equal to. And what do you think I put in here? Do you think I just say left arrow or something? Or what do I put there, right? What is the left arrow key coded as? Well, that's where we have this thing called keycode.info. Let me just scroll down a little so you can actually see what I'm at. I'm at this website called keycode.info. And what this website does is it tells you that every key you pressed, it'll tell you the event key. It also has a key code number. But what you could do is this. So if you look, I'm pressing all these keys. It's telling me the different keys, right? So if it's W, it's pretty straightforward. If it's S, it's pretty straightforward. We're looking at this one on the left. I don't want to copy that. But what happens if I press the left arrow? And let's see what it says. So the event key is arrow left. So that's the thing that I want to look at. So if I go right, arrow right, right, shift, caps lock, right? So this is the thing right here, the event key. So you want to look at this. So if you ever want to know what goes into those quotes, so in our sketch, what goes in here, just type in the thing in this website and it'll tell you what to put in quotes. So if I want left key, it's arrow left. Capital A, capital L. So we're going to say arrow, capital A, arrow left. And so when the arrow is left, what we're going to do is we're going to increase the stroke weight. So the way we're going to do that is by increasing this variable where we keep the border size in front of it. So we'll say border size is equal to, border size plus 1. Okay, so let's see if this worked now. So I got my 3 if statements. If I press B, it turns blue. If I press G, it turns green. And if I say arrow left, it will increase the border size. Let's see if this works. So I'm pressing a bunch of random stuff. Nothing's happening. I press B, it turns blue. I press G, it turns green. And check it out. If I press left, whoa. Now, obviously it's kind of annoying because I want to go back now by pressing right. I would give you a little challenge. Before moving on to the next coding activity or doing whatever you got to do, try just making it so when you press the right button, it increases the stroke weight actually, or the border size decreases, right? So you want to do whatever. You can figure it out. So anyway, that's today's lesson on user activity.